Today we're going to speak about Pygmalion, our drama by Bernard Shaw. We're going to focus on Act 2. Here on this file here, we're going to focus on some points, and then we're going to see what do we have in the book. The first point here, it says the next day Eliza Doolittle shows up at the door. The next day, this is the day after the day it was raining. So the next day, Eliza, she went to the door of who? Of Higgins. She went to Higgins' home, and she showed up at the door. She knocked on the door, and then Mrs. Pierce opened the door to her, and we will see that later. Number 2, she has come to take lessons from Higgins so that she may sound genteel enough to work in a flower shop rather than sell at the corner of Tottenham Court Road. So this point here focuses on what? It focuses on Eliza. She wanted, or she learned, that Higgins is a phonetics professor, so she wanted to know, or she wanted him to teach her how to speak like a lady. So instead of working in the streets like what she is doing or what she is used to do, she wanted to work in a flower shop. So this is number 2. Number 3 here, Higgins made fun of the poor girl and threatened her in order to start the phonetics sessions. So Higgins, what did he do, or what did he want to do? Higgins, he threatened the girl, and he threatened the girl, and he told her that he will do such things like touching her with a broomstick or hitting her with a stick if she's not going to close her mouth. Next point 4, Pickering is much kinder and considerate of her feelings, even going so far as to call her Miss Doolittle and to offer her a seat. So when Higgins was very rude with Eliza, Pickering was kind, and he was good to her. He even called her Miss Doolittle, and he brought her a chair to sit down, and he offered her a seat. Number 5, Pickering is piqued by the prospect of helping Eliza, and bets if Higgins is able to pass Eliza off as a duchess at the ambassador's garden party, then Pickering would cover the expenses of the experiment. So here, Pickering, he was with the prospect, or with the point of view, or with the point of helping Eliza how to speak and how to have a good language or a good accent. And he told Higgins that if he is able to make Eliza a duchess as he promised, he will pay all the expenses, or make her a duchess at the ambassador's garden party. He will pay him all the expenses of the experiment, or the expenses of this thing, the expenses of the lessons, if Higgins succeed in doing this. Number 6 here. During the sessions, Eliza suffered from Higgins' heartless insults. Higgins was very rude. He was very rude to Eliza, and he was very rude by nature. He used to insult people, and he used to say bad things to people. Eliza was one of these people. He insulted her, and she suffered from his heartless insults, and she threatened him to leave. So when Higgins was insulting Eliza, he was insulting Eliza many times. So she threatened him to leave. But when she said that she is going to leave, or when she said that she is about to leave, Higgins, he stuffed her mouth with a chocolate to close her mouth, or to shut her mouth. Finally, the last point number 7, Mrs. Pierce, she took Eliza upstairs to give her a bath and to clean her. This is what we have for the points here. Now we're going to see some highlights in the book. Here, the first picture, or the first quote here we have, sorry, This is on page 18. On page 18 here, the last two lines here, as you can see, it says here, a young woman wants to see you, sir. This is Mrs. Pierce. She's speaking to Mr. Higgins, or she's speaking to Higgins. When Lisa came to the door, to the front door, to his home door, she knocked on the door, and Mrs. Pierce opened the door for her, and she asked for Higgins. Mrs. Pierce was there to meet Eliza at the front door, and she went to Higgins and told him that someone wants to see you. Mrs. Pierce also said, well, sir, she says we'll be glad to see her when you know what she's come about. She's quite a common girl, sir, very common indeed. I should have sent her away, only I thought perhaps you wanted wanted her to talk into your machine. His machines, or the machines he is using, these are the phonetics machines Higgins has. He records sounds on these machines. So Mrs. Pierce thought that Higgins would like Eliza to speak into the machines and that he would like to record her sound. Next page, on page 19 here, Higgins, he says, has she an interesting accent? So he's asking about the accent. Why he's asking about the accent? Because he is a phonetics professor. So he always asks about the accent. Mrs. Pierce answered him, oh, something dreadful, sir. Really, I don't know how you can take an interest in it. Something dreadful, it means something bad. So her accent, or Eliza's accent, is very bad. So Mrs. Pierce is describing the accent of Eliza, and she is saying that it's very bad. And then Higgins replied, let's have her up, show her up. So Higgins, he was convinced to meet Eliza, or to meet the girl that he didn't know who is she. So he told Mrs. Pierce to bring her up. And then Higgins says she's no use. She's no use. Why? Because he listened